Hello, I'm Peter French, hoping that we can enable you to embrace the second most important function of the entrepreneur, which is to create a brand that speaks to your expected outcome for your enterprise. This brand promise displays values inherited from you to your perfect customer and prospective employees. So get the free ebook and read all about it. And this second video then is entitled Branding. Yes, you may say, I've written my mission statement and I've worked on why we are in business, and I think I understand my values and vision for the company. But why translate that to a brand? Couldn't I just outsource this to marketing or even a branding company? If your essence, the very reason you started and run this business, is important to you, then the brand must articulate that in a way that attracts. This is the bedrock why tool. Can anyone know the length and breadth of your vision and values? Surely they can help you articulate them, but can they articulate them without a huge amount of rapport, of understanding your inner self? Is that even possible or economically viable? We spend deep, personal, sometimes traumatic times understanding our values, which inform our vision and translate to the purpose we dreamt about as we wrestle with this why. Building this bedrock cornerstone of our company is not trivial or something to be overlooked. We like this definition. If you know the why, you'll figure out how. If the why is big enough, the how will be easy. Conversely, if why is not identified or significant, then any level of difficulty in the how will be enough to defeat you. By no means do we say we've got it right. It's not about right or wrong. It's about what starts your fire and translates to your team and attracts your customers. A commitment statement by any other name are the promises you make through your brand that are communicated to a group of unknown suspects, so they self-select themselves to engage with you. Why? Well, to find out how your brand promise can be used in their own lives to fix a self-perceived problem. That problem and that promise should communicate the solution as well as sometimes just make them aware of the problem, and may or should be based on the human senses in order to fulfill its mission. Very seldom does the entrepreneur leader use their brand to communicate to prospective employees. But everyone who comes into contact with the organization is in fact a customer, a consumer of the brand promise, and is emotionally attracted or repelled. Branding starts the conversation that builds a perception in the consumer through the medium you have chosen that we are somehow different from any other supplier of a like product, as well as any perceived substitutes of our product. Branding is created to home in like a missile directly to the perfect recipient's eyes and ears, and inform their conscious and unconscious thinking of that core, that essence of the brand promise. If you haven't thought deeply about your brand, let me ask you a couple of questions. What comes to mind? Did you get it? Brand doesn't need to be a tangible thing. It must be recognizable, commonplace, to speak to our human senses. It makes us want some, go back to those trusted ways, but can solicit sometimes unintended outcomes based on our own personal bias. Does your brand start to elicit some reactions? Marketing is the voice to convey the brand promise. Some may say that is called brand marketing. I worked for IBM for over 30 years, and I still dress and behave the way they wanted me to convey their brand in my everyday life. Professional, clean cut, no facial hair, clean shiny shoes, attention to detail, respect for the individual. Your brand will mark your community of customers and employees for life. Can you really outsource that? Even if your market is not global, even a small market still has many eyes and ears that are not going to be receptive to your voice and images. Spreading a blanket over the market must be a firm decision to make your brand universally known in your chosen market. If that is achieved, how many of these feet represented in that market will eventually make their way to your front door? If you are Coca-Cola, everyone in that segment could be your unknown subject, and so the blanket of the market. However, if we apply the 80-20 Pareto's principle, 20% of the market may be responsible for 80% of your revenue. Then covering the market would be a waste of your resources. So some studies say that 3% of that market, these are actively looking for a loose solution that would fit your branding profile. 7% are open. These are unknown subjects who are open to be persuaded to engage with a company in which the brand promise attracts them. 30% are aware and have a perception of the potential value offered by your brand, what your brand represents in the larger market, and at some stage they will be willing to engage, but for whatever reason at this moment they're not ready. 20% are unconscious. This group, who are unconscious about the potential benefits which your brand solution might represent for them. And then lastly, 40% no. Those who would, for whatever reason, answer no, this is not for me. So if you can identify the unknown subjects and transform them into known suspects, then 60% of the market would be open to know your brand and be educated through an intimate technique called education-based marketing. More about that in the marketing video. You can find many resources of help in defining and creating your brand. If you ignore it as mumbo jumbo and rush into just product creation and delivery, you'll be missing the key cornerstone of the characteristics of our unique enterprise. The brand is the object of all marketing words and sales conversations, the attracted employee's pride and potential customer conversations. It is the communication medium which you, as a leader entrepreneur, uses to communicate who we are and why we are here. Take on this opportunity with relish. If you're struggling, use the free Community Outreach 67-minute conference call to discuss your project.